talk about the peer review process. You've written your article, you've followed all the instructions the journal has given about reference style, length, general instructions, information about the journal. You've followed all of that, you've submitted your paper either online or you've emailed it to the editor, and your paper will enter into the peer review process. That peer review means it's going to be judged by people who are your peers, people like you in the field. And the first thing that will happen is that it arrives on the desk of the editor. And the editor makes a first decision. It's a desk review. The editor looks at your paper and decides quickly whether it's suitable for the journal or not suitable for the journal. If it's so badly written that it can't be understood, it'll be rejected immediately. If it's on a topic that's not really of interest to the readers of the journal, it will be rejected on those grounds. The editor will give you a decision, normally within a couple of days, about whether your paper has got beyond that point of the desk review. So after a couple of days, no news is good news. If the editor has decided that this is an article which is worth expending some effort on, the next thing that will happen is the editor will pass your paper out for review. Normally, your paper will be sent to 2 reviewers who'll read it independently and form a judgment about your paper. And they review it independently and they form an opinion, and it varies from journal to journal. Some journals have a rigid questionnaire that says, does it make proper use of the previous literature? Does it cover a topic of interest? Does it have reasonable arguments from the data to the conclusions? Are the conclusions well and carefully expressed, and so on? Detailed questions. And sometimes the journals will simply ask the reviewers for comments. But they'll be asking similar questions about your paper, whether it makes an original contribution, whether it's well argued, whether it's based on evidence, whether it's ignored any of the literature that it should have taken into account. Those are the criteria on which the paper will be judged. And the reviewers, each coming to their separate view, will send their view back to the editor, and the editor then will make a further judgment. If the reviewers agree, there's not much for the editor to do except relay their decision to you. If they disagree, the editor has to decide which one of those carries more weight, or perhaps they'll send the paper out for a 3rd review, not normally a 4th review, because by that point the editor will probably have decided it's not worth spending more resources on this paper. But the reviewers will be invited, one way or another, by the editor to make a decision about your paper. And their decision will come in one of 4 main categories. So the reviewers will make a recommendation either to accept your paper as it is, to accept with minor amendments, to accept with major amendments, or to reject your paper outright. And the editor will combine those recommendations of reviewers and will send you the result. And that, normally now, an email will drop into your email box, and you'll have the result in your email box. At that moment, I like to be careful about what I do next. I like to be in a good mood to open that email, because it's like getting exam results. You need to be properly prepared. Don't open that email late in the evening. Don't open it when you're tense. Relax, get ready and open it and read the result. Accept without any conditions is so unusual, it's hardly worth mentioning. The likely outcomes are either to reject outright, or to accept with minor amendments, or accept with major amendments. If it's reject outright, you probably need to go back to the drawing board and start all over again, thinking through whether you've done enough to attract your audience in. But if the reviewers have suggested amendments, whether they're major or minor, you now need to deal with those recommendations that they're given. If they've said that they think that amendments to your paper are necessary, they will probably have given fairly detailed explanations of what it is that needs to be changed, or what they think needs to be changed. And it's with those recommendations that you have to deal, and that's why you need to be in a good mood. You need to be able to see these in the right light. You mustn't look at it as criticism. You must look at it and say, here is an opportunity for me to improve my paper. The variety of things that might happen, of course, the reviewers may have spotted typing errors. There are always some small mistakes. That's fine. You correct them, your paper will be better. They may have said that you've ignored some of the literature. There's a reference that you should have included, that you should have made mention of. Include it, put it in, mention it, include it in your arguments. Your paper will be better. You need to be thinking that the reviewers are there to help you, because for the most part they are offering you an opportunity to improve your paper. And even when you don't like what they have to say, even when they say this is not clear, this has not been properly argued, the argument doesn't follow through from the data to the conclusions, stop and think and try and see whether it's because you've not expressed yourself as clearly as you should have. It's an opportunity where you're picked up, even if you don't think the reviewer is right. Try to see whether you could have expressed yourself better, and try and accept that those recommendations are made in good faith and that you can improve your paper by taking into account what the reviewers have suggested. But there will be some times, there will be some occasions when you look at the reviewer's comments and you think, the reviewer has not understood what I was doing. The reviewer has missed the whole point of the paper. The reviewer has simply not understood what this paper was about. That will happen. Try not to say that's what's happened. Try not to say this reviewer has misunderstood what's going on. Try to say, that's a very interesting idea. I would like to develop that idea, but I don't think that in the space of a 6,000 word, 8,000 word article, I can deal appropriately with that development. So try not to dismiss out of hand. Try to send the message to the editor. You don't have to accept every suggestion that's made by the reviewers. If you don't like them, if you don't like the comments made by the reviewers, you can simply say, this is outside the scope of what I was trying to do. Don't say, the reviewer is a fool and is only saying this because they've read my article and this is the next step on from my article. Of course, that may happen. You may suspect that the reviewer has found your paper so stimulating that they've started bubbling with fresh ideas of their own that they think could be developed. That's a good sign, but don't say it. Say, that's outside the scope of what I'm trying to do. I think it will detract from the main argument if I include those aspects. So what you need to do is to accept as much as you can, as much as you possibly can, of the recommendations of the reviewers that will improve your paper. You're making the judgments, but you do not need to accept all of them. It remains your paper. It's never the reviewer's paper. Your paper, you've got to decide what goes in and what doesn't go in. And if you think that a suggestion will actually detract from the effort you're making, you add in the comments to the editor when you send back the revised version, you say, I could not take this into account because I think it will detract from the paper, or it's because it's beyond the scope of the paper. So you do, as for every possible reason, you accept every recommendation that you can because it's an improvement of your paper. If it's not an improvement of your paper, you're perfectly justified in saying, I can't do that. It's not in keeping with the spirit of the paper. I can't do that. If you won't publish it, I'll go somewhere else with my paper. And that's the purpose of the review process, is for you, offer you opportunities to review your paper. I had a good friend and former colleague who used to say, a colleague with a lot of experience of editing, and he would say, the least helpful review, the least helpful feedback you could get from a reviewer was, this is not the paper that I would have written. And despite the fact that that's the least helpful feedback, that is actually the most common feedback from reviewers. This is not the paper I would have written. Well, yes, of course, it's not the paper they would have written. It's the paper you wrote. And it stays your paper as you amend it. So you're trying to use the support and the positive guidance and the help, and try to see it in positive terms, the help of the reviewers to make your paper better. And when you've done that, you will send it back, the amended version, you'll send back to the editor, and the editor may possibly send it out to those same reviewers to see whether they feel you've dealt adequately with their comments, or they may make a decision on their own without going out to the reviewers again. But in either case, you've sent a revised version and the editor will give you a final decision. Now, there's no guarantee that the editor will accept the paper simply because you've made the adjustments to it that you've been asked to. It's accept with minor amendments or accept with major amendments. It's not a guarantee of publication, but it's getting over the first hurdle. And once the journal has started investing effort in improving your paper, well, you're halfway there, but it's time to celebrate. You can say, great, I've got minor amendments, I've got major amendments, but it's not a guarantee. So keep your enthusiasm in check until you get that final approval of the editor to say that your paper will be published. And then congratulations are in order when your paper has been fully accepted. It may well then go online, or it may well at that point be a wait of as much as a year sometimes before that paper comes out in print. So that's the process of peer review and what it means to you as an author. And good luck with that, and congratulations will be due to you when you've got your paper published.